So when I came here before, I was wet because I was sweaty. Now I'm wet because it's raining really, really, really hard out there. So just in case you were wondering if I've just been out running laps, I was in the rain. But thanks for seeing the movie.
So the Laird Barron story, you tracked it fairly closely.
Yeah.
Although you made some changes. You want to talk a little bit about those?
Yes. So there are changes. The biggest one is that in the story, there is a pretty explicit. It's pretty explicit that the two of them have had a, if not romantic, then at least sexual relationship in the past. And we shot those scenes, and I took them out because in early versions of the movie, when you got to the end and you knew that about them, everybody came out of the movie thinking, oh, this is just a movie about a jilted woman who gets her revenge. And I thought that was a really unfortunate interpretation of the movie. So I took that stuff out in the interest of making it more frustrating and making it more difficult to understand exactly what the crux of the matter is. I mean, I think you can detect that history of them a little bit still in the film, but it's not. It was pretty explicit, and we took it out. Then I added a couple of other, like the idea that there had been settlers on the land is not something that's in the short story, and I added that. So I like this idea of them, of our characters discovering certain layers of the past, and this idea of cyclical, terrible things that always happen in this place. And that's kind of about it. I mean, I rearranged scenes and moments and took dialogue from different scenes and put them other places. But other than that, those are just the two really big differences, basically. Yeah.
Now you were, we've talked about this before, you were very cognizant of the sound space you were creating in order to sort of create the sense of dread that we were talking about.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about sort of like what you did that may not have been utterly perceptible?
Sure. I mean, we did a lot of sound work. What I can say is this, that there is, when you set out to make a movie, you're cognizant of the movies, the filmmakers that you like, and then you sort of inadvertently start to mimic them. So in early versions of the movie, the sound design was very, very David Lynch. It was like, there was always this industrial hum in the background. And similar to the dream sequences. And I thought, well, that's fine, but you don't want to just mimic Lynch, so you want to find some other way to get that effect, that sort of strange, unsettling effect. So specifically, I mean, it's like starting from that place, this idea to evoke, dreaminess and dread and a sort of constant, unseen discomfort. We then just sort of played around with a lot of different things. I don't even know if I can tell you anything specific that we did. It was sort of just like the process of making this movie from the beginning to the very end, from the beginning of adapting the story to the very end of post-production was just sort of chasing a mood, and it became very much like almost like sculpture or something, where you like stuff on the wall and then you carve it back and you see if that's what you were going for, and if it's not, then you build it back up and you carve it back again until you get what you're after. Which is a really non-answer to that question, but I think that's the answer you're going to get.
Mood is a very difficult thing to sustain, and especially when we look at a lot of films, like for a film festival, one of our biggest criticisms of films is pacing. Like you need to, get at the end of those sentences and cut a little deeper, bring stuff a little tighter so that scenes are sort of happening in quicker succession to kind of keep you engaged. But when you're trying to create an atmosphere like this, did you find yourself having to slow yourself down to kind of let those moments?
No, and this speaks poorly of my sense of pacing. So my first cut of this movie that I already referred to was like over 2 hours. I mean, it was so long. It was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I was like, it's perfect. Let's leave it like this. Why would you not have this scene drag on for forever? And then we cut it back and we cut it back and eventually ended up where we are. I suspect actually it could have been a little bit shorter still when I think about it now and sustain the mood. But it was the pace of it, and it is, I mean, the polite way of saying it is it's deliberately paced, but it is, I mean, it's slow and by design, and that design is really to sort of put you in the circumstance that the characters are in and immerse you in what unkindly you might call boredom, but like what they're doing is kind of boring, but there needs to be this sort of sense of dread about it. And getting that pacing is really, really hard. I mean, it's incredibly difficult. I mean, as I already admitted, my first take on it was wrong. Like it's way, way, way too long. But I think we got there, and I think a lot of it was trying to find a way to subtly, using film style, put the audience off their game as quickly as we could. Like there is this sense that pretty early in the movie, you look at the way that it's cut, there isn't any clear demarcation between what's real and what's a dream in a certain sense. And that was like an editorial choice. And again, it's subtle enough that you may not think to yourself, oh, I see what's happening here, but it is sort of happening. If that makes sense.
I did very much like some of the dream components. Like as a Lovecraft fan, I think the idea that you might get secret knowledge through dreams, or you might see a little bit of what's going on in the background that way, is really interesting. Did you, when he's having these dream sequences, did you envision that he was sort of seeing beyond, or do you envision, and maybe this is a question you don't want to answer, or did you envision that it was just a manifestation of his own sort of psychosis?
I think it was supposed to be, well, I know it was supposed to be both. I think you're supposed to enter into them, as a viewer, you're supposed to be like he is, unsure of what is to be gleaned from them. And then at a certain point, he is a character, I think, that is lost in a physical space, but also lost in an interior space. And so those dreams are a muddling of both. So that, there are sort of specific things in them that are meant to be about his own personal history. But there are things that are exterior to that as well, that are sort of being pushed on him, if you will. That makes sense.
So the main actor was William Jackson Harper. Right. Does anybody recognize him from anything you may have seen on TV? Anyone want to shout it out?
Good Place.
The Good Place. Have any of you seen The Good Place that didn't recognize him? Yeah. The second season of that's coming out soon, I think.
Third season.
Third season.
Yeah.
That is a very different characterization.
It is a very different, yeah. He comes from comedy. When he came into, we didn't do auditions, but when he came in to meet for the role, his agent had said that he primarily did comedy, and his agent was like, yeah, but a little bit of comedy could be good for a film like this. Thanks for the comment. But he, he clearly has an incredible range. I hope that he doesn't just do comedy. I mean, he's very, very good in A Good Place. I kind of like him better in my movie. Maybe it's my movie. But he can do both. He's super talented. He was great to work with, too. He was real. I don't know that either of the actors really, that's a bad thing to say, I guess, but really, understood exactly what we were doing when we did it. But they both totally went along with it, and they both, one of the things that I asked them when I was casting them was for them to just sort of tell me what they thought happened in the script, because the script is very light on plot and very light on, answers. And so using that, I thought it was important that they have their own version of what was happening, and whether it completely jogged with what we were actually doing didn't matter so much in the end. So.
We got questions from the audience? No one's asking anything? Yeah.
Did you shoot chronologically, or was it out of order?
So, on the list of filmmaker follies, I said that we should shoot in order, and you normally, of course, don't do that. I was like, no, we have to shoot in order because, not just because of the journey of the characters, but because we were shooting in upstate New York, and we wanted the foliage to change, and we wanted to get the leaves changed. So yeah, that's awesome to say. It's a great creative idea, and I was like, whatever the weather is on that day, that's the weather in the scene, la la la, all these things. And then you start shooting, and it's it just becomes a nightmare for an array of reasons. So we shot, that being said, to the credit of my production, they tried to do it the way that I wanted to do it. So we shot mostly in order. And then in the edit, I basically fucked all that up and was like, well, I'm going to move the scene over here and this has to go over here. So at the end of the day, I don't recommend it. Again, it sounds great to say it, but it creates more of a problem than it's probably worth it. I mean, the leaves look great, but I don't think anybody's really going to go through the movie and sort of track that change that does occur over the course of the film. So,
nature photography is really amazing in this film. Actually,
Yeah.
the whole milieu, I think, looks amazing. Who was your cinematographer?
So Sean Kirby was the cinematographer. He shot the movie Cthulhu that Tori Spelling produced in 2000, whatever it was, which I believe single-handedly killed the Seattle film industry. Is that sort of true? And he's massively talented. He also shot this really bizarre documentary called Zoo, which is about a man who died fucking a horse, which is it's the artiest interpretation of that story that you can possibly imagine. It's pretty arty. And he lives in Vermont. He's like a woodsman. He does woods things, not too far from where we shot. And he was great. He's not a genre guy. He's shot 2 Lovecraft movies now. And his genre frame of reference is very skinny. So it's like a lot of conversations about, art movies like Tarkovsky and stuff like that, not so much about horror stuff. So I'm very, very talented.
I would say no matter, the movie Cthulhu has its pros and cons. But no matter how you feel about the cinematography, it's really quite stunning. There's this wonderful overhead sequences, like helicopter shots of Astoria, where it was filmed. It's really a great looking movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sean has an amazing eye. He moves very slowly, but he has an amazing eye. It takes a long time to get those shots. We did, at a certain point, it became, I can't remember how many days we shot, but we have so many sunsets. I think there's 1 scene or 3 scenes that were shot all on the same sunset. That's the only time we wanted to shoot, was like sun up or sundown. So then you sort of sit around and wait until Sean says, okay, the light is right, now we run and do all these things at the same time. It's fun. It's terrible, but it's fun.
Have a question from the audience? Yeah, in the back.
Where did you get those units, those tents that were in?
Right. So those things,
Did everybody have a question?
the structures they live in, where they come from. So those came from a company in the Pacific Northwest. They are designed to be emergency shelter. Like you're supposed to airlift them into zones of trauma and then you build them. They are designed by an insane sadist, though. Like there's no, like if you sent those to people who were in trouble, they would die and you should go to hell. Like they're terrible. They showed up, so we ordered 3 of them because we thought they looked great. And they showed up and they come like they're corrugated plastic, like about this thick as cardboard, and they come flat. So like a truck showed up on our tiny little set one day full of like maybe a ton of plastic, all flat. And then you have to origami them into this shape. And then it's plastic, so you have to like work it to like get it to bend. And the instruction manual is amazing. I kind of can't believe this is true, but it is, because I went back and found it, and it's like a 200-page PDF. Of just like the most complicated schematics, and in the marginalia are motivational quotes. Which is as silly as it sounds, but what makes it even weirder and more awful is that it's like people that you shouldn't have motivational quotes from. It's like Mao Zedong and like Bill Cosby, and then the guy himself who designed it. Like it's insane. They look great. I'm happy we made them, but at the time it was, the biggest nightmare that you can imagine. Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Are they motivational quotes for you or for the people in need? Like, is it like,
No,
don't worry, you'll get to the end?
It's for you, because I think he knows how bad it is. So it's like you get to page 50, yeah, and you've got 150 pages left, and it's like, Mao says the revolution wasn't made in a day. Right? It was ridiculous. And they still, I'll say this, they're durable, and as far as I know, they still exist. Sean took 2 of them, he dragged them back to Vermont, and the 3rd one, somebody close to where we shot, I think, took it and is using it as like a terrarium or something. Yeah, well, we wanted to leave them in the field, but we couldn't, so we had to find somebody to take them, so Sean. Yeah. So that's the story of those.
That's a good segue. And we're careful not to say that this film is really that related to this other film. But both Larry Barron's work and They Remain, there's a quality to them that is evocative of Phase 4.
Right.
The film by Saul
What do you want me to say other than yes?
I guess the answer to that is yes. There is a quality that is similar.
No, there is. I mean, Laird has talked about it, Phase 4 being an influence on the story, and I mean, there's not. I've watched Phase 4 a couple of times before I made this. There's not a lot of the style of Phase 4 in this film. Like, you should see Phase 4 if you haven't. It's the only movie that Saul Bass made. Saul Bass is the guy that did like the most famous title sequences and posters for like sort of the Hitchcock era of movies.
Shining.
Yeah, the Shining's poster. Yeah. And like a lot of Scorsese title sequences too, I think. And he made one movie, and it's this bizarre B science fiction horror movie about like two dudes and a teenage girl. I think she's a teen in the desert investigating ants that are, I guess, trying to take over the world, basically, in a certain sense. But it's a great. I mean, it is like Zoo being the artiest movie of the horse fucking. It's like the artiest B movie about killer ants that you can possibly imagine. Yeah.
It's if you haven't seen it, definitely go and see it. It's sort of legitimately cosmic horror, and it involves ants that are perhaps again though it's a film that doesn't really explain what's happening, but it seems to be about ants that are beginning to sort of receive a consciousness from the cosmos and coming together.
It's really good. I mean,
it's really good.
Worth seeing,
But it has that a little bit of that dynamic with the two guys, where it's the one doesn't trust the other, and the other one can't be trusted. You know, it's a very, very interesting film if you haven't seen it. You can get it on DVD and see it in other places.
Yeah, that's true.
Question? Yeah.
So not a question, but the pilot was like right out of a Laird Barron story. And even the way he smiled was like a Laird Barron smile.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah, that is Alex Malcolm Mills. He's an actor I've worked with a couple times, and he's a friend of mine at this point. He's great. He was very conscious of that. He really wanted to be that. And I know Laird himself, when he saw the movie the first time, I think stopped it there to be excited. Actually what happened is he started to laugh, and his girlfriend asked why he was laughing, and Laird was like, this guy is so perfectly a Laird Barron character. But he is. That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I think it's so... I just love the line, "Human remains," right? And he's so excited about it. I think it's so fun. I will tell Alex that you said that. He'll be very excited.
So, and you're a local Providence. You live here in Providence.
Yeah.
And the skull sculpture thing, was that?
Yeah, that was made by a sculptor who lives not in Providence, but the next town over, named Gage Prentice, who makes all kinds of great trinkets and things. And he made a giant skull and giant horns for us. It was a real process. I think it more of an undertaking than he anticipated when he signed on, but he did an amazing job. And now I have them. I have one of the horns in my backyard, and Laird has one of the horns, and the skull is in my basement. I really want to mount it on my house, but I haven't figured out how to do it yet. But maybe one day. We'll see.
To that end, what about the human remains?
What about them? Oh, do I have them? I do have them. Gage made those for me too. Well, some of them. Some of them are just like animal bones. The gnarly skull that you sort of see a little bit Gage made. I bought the, just like cheap fake skulls, and then he put the sort of decomposing bits and made it look nice. That's also in my basement. So got all kinds of fun stuff down in my basement.
Repetition and cycle. There's history in there. Day one, he's injured. And he's being finished. And all I can tie it back to is purposely causing some of the acid and injury.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can say that, or is that kind of just
So the question was sort of about, I'll say, cycles within the story itself is basically your question. I'll say those things are intentional. That wound in particular is, if I'm to be totally honest, not to pull the curtain back too much, is a little bit of an unintentional version of one of those things. But there are other things too where I try to basically mimic things that happened late in the film, early in the film. So that specific wound, there was a scene that we had to cut where he got attacked by like an animal basically, and it didn't seem as terrible.
Yeah,
So
making
place, and then also the echoing of the beginning and the end of the movie, and those kinds of things. I mean, like one of the stylistic ideas and hopes in the movie was basically to load it with like details that you are not sure if they are significant or not, and that you're sort of meant to parse it after you've seen it and try to figure out what was significant and what wasn't significant and those kinds of things.
Real dream and
Right.
he starts becoming unreliable. You don't come out and say, but it's important, he is taking a pill.
Right.
Or he is, where there's something in my water, and you spin that out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you have to start reevaluating everything in the beginning, the conversation on the fire, why people drift into a cult. They're talking about themselves now.
Right. Right.
Okay, just how, why are they removed?
Yeah.
You assume, I believe, or I assume that they are leaders in their field who have been doing something like this. This could be the project that makes us.
Right. Right.
And brilliance, is now a cliche time, stability.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They these are the exact right people to drop off in the wilderness, or these who never should have been dropped
Right.
off
Right.
in the wilderness.
The exact right or the exact wrong, or the exact right for the wrong reasons. I guess is another way to think about it. But yes. Yeah.
It's very economically shot, and as well as your report, so it's enjoyed.
Oh, thanks.
And definitely. And I was wondering if there was anything like how conscious you were in developing the screenplay for the budget. If there's anything, or if there's anything you could write to do with the cost.
Yeah. Yes. So there were things, a lot of things. I mean, to be totally honest, the original version of the dreams, if you were to read the first screenplay of it, the dreams were very, very big, like enormous. And then they had to change. I mean, basically the entire pre-production process was me trying not to make them smaller, and then having to make them smaller, and then once they were the size that we could do, trying to figure out the best way to, sort of what I was saying at the beginning, like determine what the dream aesthetic of this movie was. Now that I could understand exactly what we could do. Yeah, I mean that's really the biggest thing was the dreams. They were it was like avalanches and snowstorms, and it was like pits full of bodies, and like name something that you can't do on a budget. And I was like, put it here on page 15.
So you wrote that in first, and then.
And that process was partly budget and partly scheduling to get back to my let's schedule an order thing. All that started to get screwed up because Linda Jackson Harper went directly from us to shoot with Jim Jarmusch on Patterson, and couldn't tell Jim Jarmusch's movie that they couldn't have Linda Jackson Harper, so I ended up having to write his physical presence out of a lot of his dreams. So you'll notice he's sort of seen in silhouette, or you see a piece of him in his dreams, but the actual actor isn't in a lot of them because we had to do them all at the end of our shoot on the days that he had to go be with Jim Jarmusch. So again, not to ruin too much of the mystery of the movie, but that's sort of how we ended up windowing the aesthetic down to what we can accomplish. That makes sense.
So we're basically out of time, but maybe one more question? See? Yeah.
Was the dog easy to work with?
Was the dog easy to work with?
Yeah, it's easy. So that dog's name is Devin. It is a hero dog. It was a rescue dog, and it had survived cancer. So it was like, whether it was easy to work with or not, it was a star. And he was mostly easy to work with. I mean, you hear a lot about nightmare animals, but he really wasn't. I'm trying to think of something. I mean, there are some shots, because a lot of what the animal is supposed to do in the movie is be still and just look, which is, it turns out, is pretty hard to get an animal to do. And so there's a lot of shots where we had to, where his trainer is either hidden behind a tree, and we had to, and we ended up having to digitally paint out his leash because he just wouldn't. So, but other than, I mean, there were no days when I was like, oh, our schedule's screwed because that dog won't do its thing. It was mostly fine. I can't complain. It
It wasn't a Black Phillip situation.
No,
Oh,
no.
boy.
I think it's easier to train a dog than a satanic goat, I think.
Especially when they start satanic.
Yeah, exactly.
They discover it later.
There's no working with it at that point. Yeah. Yes.
Maybe one more quick one if somebody has a question. Anybody? Am I not seeing anybody? Yeah.
Oh, camera lenses, did you cover that? You're not.
No, we shot with, this is a technical quiz for me, they are Cook lenses, and I should remember the actual lenses that we had on set. I'm probably going to blow it. I know we had a 40, I know we had a 25, and I know we had, I don't think we had anything wider than the 25, and then some longer telephoto lenses, but they were all Cook lenses. And then there's some macro lenses for the bugs, but they were all like fancy Cook lenses. And then actually, speaking of Sean, there were these pieces of glass that he had made specially that we would put as like a special lens over the lens on some shots that gave them like a weird sort of blurriness or like almost inaccuracy to the focus that you see occasionally in some shots. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Did you do camera lenses?
Yeah, we shot with the Alexa Mini.
I have maybe an easy question to answer. And I know talking numbers is always a little, but on some sort of scale, what was the budget on this?
What scale? It was, trying to think of like a snarky, sarcastic way to answer that, but I can't. It was not very much in terms of film budgets, but still a lot of money, if that makes sense. I'll say this, it was under $1 million.
Could you buy a house?
You could buy a house. You could buy a, depending on where you live, you could buy a pretty nice house. It was under $1 million. I'll say that, if that's fair enough. Yeah.
Do you feel like you got everything on screen for those dollars?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm like running a tally of everything. Yeah, I think we did. I mean, I think a lot of what another pre-production decision was that I wanted to have as much time to shoot as we could, so we ran a smaller crew for a longer number of days than you might normally make a movie for this for. Like you would, for a lot of movies that are on this budget, which are, I guess, still technically termed micro budget, or they may have invented some other term for it, but that you try to shoot the feature in like a week or 2 weeks, and I didn't want to do that, so we shot for about a full month, and then came back and did a couple more days, like a year later or something like that. So, but yeah, I think we got just about everything.
I think it's safe to say it looks like $1 million for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of
If you spent less than that, then you did.
Yeah. Thanks,
I
Brian.
don't know what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I guess
I'm truly not trying to insult the film. That was entirely meant as a positive.
I mean, like, there's another version of this movie that doesn't have Sean shooting it. That looks, that the look is more like a low-budget horror film, and you get a lot more handheld footage, and there's just a different movie. I mean, it's more in the like sort of Texas Chainsaw aesthetic, and not so much in the like, I guess I would call it the art film aesthetic, and not in a. No, I don't mean that in like I'm an art film, but just like that's sort of the mood of the piece. And so we basically made that decision, was that we were going to go in that direction instead of the more like handheld raw look, I guess. Does that make sense?
Not layers pulpier side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
I think I saw one, and so this is definitely the last one.
What's your next movie?
Oh, that's a terrible question. So I have a movie. I'll say this. There's you know what rotoscope animating is, like heavy metal and fire and ice. So years ago, 4 years ago at this point, I started working with an animator in Philadelphia, and we shot a bunch of live action stuff that he has been diligently hand rotoscope animating for 4 years. And so that's almost done. It's called The Spine of Night, and it's like a surreal sword and sorcery epic thing, which should be done. We're due to complete animation this year, so we're hoping to have it out next year. So that, I guess it's not such a hard question. That will definitely be the next movie that I worked on. That will be out. It's going to be awesome. It's incredibly violent, and like a fantasy movie. It's like something you've never seen at this point, like a low budget, surreal, violent fantasy film. So look for that. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.